Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Mark Neal. Mark has a degree in accountancy and a master's degree in taxation. I think I'll hold that against him. I come from a family of accountants on that sheet. With postgraduate studies in systems analysis and public administration. He's a fellow of CPA Australia, a fellow of the Taxation Institute. 37-year career in the Taxation Office, state and national levels, senior roles, and he was heavily involved in the ATO's strategic leadership program for executive and senior executive service managers, and he was a mentor in that. Mark designed the strategic international tax compliance development programs for OECD and AusAid, South Korea and Indonesia, with representatives from over 23 countries. Assistant Commissioner of Taxation, Mark's roles include responsibility for information management. And Mark enjoyed many years of coaching competition at state and national levels in karate and badminton, so don't argue with him. Particularly encouraging youth participation. Mark and his wife Julie have been married for 44 years, have a daughter and son. When they moved from Canberra into 118, Sunshine Coast, they continued the Catholic faith at the Stella Maris community in Maroochydore. He joined St Vincent de Paul, and that led him to connections back into the Knights, and he's now a member of Branch 88. He became treasurer. Soon after, Mark began helping manage our Centenary celebrations and state conference, and he was invited to join State Council in the strategy and planning role. Mark is very passionate and proves that you don't have to be in the Knights for 25 or 40 years to be passionate. And I would encourage you to welcome Mark to the stand.
Stick a thing in the thing, and we'll try and work that out. All right, so we got that going? Yep. We're going fast.
Put the headlights on.
I'll tell you what, I'm really, really pleased with this conference. I'm pleased from one perspective because I don't have to repeat what a lot of the guys have already said. The presentations that we've had will be reinforced to a great extent by what I'm going to say. So, because my time's cut a little bit, and I want presenters that came before to be able to be available for questions, I'm going to just walk through fairly quickly what I've got on the screen, okay? Just bear with me, and then we'll have a lot of questions afterwards. Yep. No, that's not it. No. I was going to say. I think so. Let me just escape this, just make sure this is in touch. Yep, very good. Okay, go. Okay, so this is about going forward. Not just this year, but how are we going to set up so that we're doing this again in 100 years' time, and we're all stuffed and we're all in the corner, and all our predecessors, our successors can enjoy another wonderful celebration. So the way I want to tackle this is I just want to have a brief introduction. I wanted to recap some of the sessions that we did before. So what were the key things that we heard? What are some of the key challenges that we recognised? Then I'll come to a boring bit because it's about planning and change management. But as John Hennessy said and others said, we've got to change. You need a plan to change or you're not going to get there. So I just want to walk through our approach in Queensland to that. And afterwards we'll have some member feedbacks and questions. Right? So, earlier on, last night, we heard about people up on stage here who said that they came from little towns and things. Well, I came from a little town. It's a little place called Sydney, and don't hold that against me. I was baptised in Centenary Cathedral, for what it's worth. I'm relatively new to the Knights, like 2 years, less than 2 years, but because I've gone from knowing absolutely zero about the Knights, I didn't even know they existed. Even though I was involved in the church, I was in Canberra before I came to the Sunshine Coast. I used to go to the cathedral. I used to read scripture every day, which I do, and reflected on that. Never heard of the Knights. I came to Sunshine Coast, went to St Mary's Church on the top of Buderim, where we live, and a fellow came along, and he was from St Vincent de Paul, and he said, we need some help at Vinnie's. So my wife and I said, fine, we can stack books, we can fold clothes and stuff like that. And we went along and then said, no, we're talking about emergency relief, you know, homeless people, starving people, give them food. I said, that's fantastic. I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm going to do it. That's really, really good. We want to do that. So we became Vincentians. And then after a while, some of my colleagues from Branch 88 will probably remember this. Somebody came up and went, do you want to be a knight? And because since I was 17, I collected knives and bayonets, I said, do I get a sword? And I said, no, you don't get a sword. No, that's right. So I went along the meeting, first meeting, and I said, okay guys, because before that I downloaded all the formation program. I went through the whole thing. I thought, are they going to test me? I've got to get the answers right. I've got to do this. Get to the meeting, and they said, welcome, you know, come on in, see what we're doing and all that. And I said, so what do you do? Crickets, you know. Some guys were saying, well, we do this, and other guys were saying, well, we do a bit of this. Another one said, well, we do a Bunnings sausage sizzle. And I said, well, you've got to be doing more than that. You know, why should I join your organisation? So this little story is going to be relevant when we get to the bit about recruitment and membership, right? So as it happened, I found out, I joined the Knights, but I also found out that the people I'd been working alongside in St Vincent de Paul were Knights, and I didn't even know it. So he was a member, potential member, right alongside doing similar work, right? So when we talk about, oh, there's nobody out there to be a member, let's rethink that, okay? So I got to be the treasurer within months. I ended up here doing this sort of stuff. And I'll be celebrating tonight, I can tell you, after it's all over. All right? So the other thing is, because I'm new to the Knights, I'm ignorant about a lot of your history. I'm learning, I'm trying to learn, but I'm ignorant about your culture and everything else and what's been done for the last 100 years in any great depth. I've got a superficial understanding and I'm learning more, but just please bear with me. If I say something stupid, say, hey Mark, you're stupid, and set me right, educate me, okay? So, where do we go from here? What did we learn? Well, we've had a wonderful 100-year history. No question about it. Fantastic. How many organisations do you know that have got a 100-year history? Name 3.
Federation of Australia.
Ah, that's not a good enough one. It's not good enough. So the Knights have made a positive difference. We know that. We can see that. Look at all the wonderful things. We heard earlier this morning about all the wonderful things that the Knights have been behind. And they're not trivial things. They're long-lasting changes to Australian society. Look at the education things. Look at Southern Cross Care. There's a long, long list there. So it's not just a flash in the pan, little bits and pieces. There are some really, really important changes. So the other things that we learned? Well, we know our faith and fraternity are cornerstones. Continue on. Build on that. Keep going. The other thing is we've applied a wealth of faith, fraternity, knowledge, skills and experience. That hasn't disappeared. In this group here and in your branches, that's where the knowledge is. That's where the experience is. Every single individual here does not know all of it, but collectively, we're a big team. Now, what else did we learn? We need to listen. Listen to our people. We heard the stories from Southern Cross Care. We heard it from Father Tom. And Father Danny. We've got to listen, reflect. John Hennessy, in his toolkit, talks heavily about effective communication. Very important. I'm going to get this t-shirt. Now, I actually showed this slide to some of my female Vincentians on Thursday morning. 2 of them got it and thought it was really funny, 2 of them didn't. The point is, you can think, you're laughing, you get it, that's good. So, the point is, you can think you're listening, but you might actually only be hearing. You hear stuff, blah, 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 I've got some faults, blah, 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 and something else, right? You've got to actively listen. So let's add that to our list of capabilities that we need as leaders. So what are the key challenges? Church is under increasing challenge on many fronts. Public image of Christians being attacked by lobby groups. What a wonderful presentation we had before me. The stuff about VAD, discrimination and employment laws. Again, we heard about that. Mass attendance, reducing. More women. John, it's something like 62% female now, isn't it? Something like that. Greater diversity. I don't know what it's like at your church, but at Stella Maris, well, I don't know. What would we have? 7, 8, 9, 10 different nationalities, strongly represented. Tongans, people from the Philippines, Chinese, you name it. Have a look across this room. How many of these groups have we got represented? So one thing we need to do is to think about our recruitment drives, think about the parishes that we come from and we work with, and see whether or not we need to put greater diversity into our membership and our recruitment. Makes sense, I think. Right, our world is rapidly changing and evolving. I'm just using an example of technology and the way people, including prospective new members, communicate and get things done. What's been one of the... I was going to use a bad word then. What's one of the bad things that happened recently? It was COVID, wasn't it? What was one of the good things that came out of that? We started meeting by Zoom. Now, people that wouldn't have touched that technology with a barge pole because they weren't used to it, comfortable with it, knew how to do it, but now we know how to do it and other people can support them to do it. So that's a bit of a silver lining in the cloud. What are the key challenges? Well, there's an outcome that's happening and you can see the results. The numbers are actually in that book that was handed out, the conference book of the membership numbers and that. Across Australia, all the memberships are going down significantly. I didn't put the numbers in there for Queensland because depending on whether you take financial and unfinancial, you either have a heart attack or you get scared. But the takeout from this is they're steadily going down. If we have no members, no KSC. Pretty important. I know we all know that, but when you actually think about it, it's not a case of, yeah, well, we'll try and get one more person per branch, you know, each year, per year. Well, that's not going to cut it because the rest of them are going to be incapable of doing all the active stuff and we're heading down a certain path, right? So, one of the key things, and John Hennessy was very clear about this, and I totally agree, we have to have the right numbers, capabilities, knowledge, skills and experience to achieve our objects. Now we don't, each of us, have to have it, but collectively we need to have it. We don't all have to be chairman. We need implementers, doers, thinkers, we need leaders in that mix. It's the same as any major project. I've run hundreds of millions of dollars of projects. At some time you need a designer type, sometimes you need a builder type, you need an implementer type, and you need managers, different roles, different times, but collectively you get the job done. Within our group, we have got tremendous skills. What's really obvious is that we need to keep adding to that talent pool. So I know you saw that. This is pretty obvious. Doing nothing different is not an option. Unless you want the whole organisation to fail, we've got to do some things different. And I'll pick up on words from John Hennessy, and I think a couple of other our speakers mentioned we're on a journey. So if you're going to some place you've never been before, you need a map, you need a plan to get there. You do all the other things that go with that, the logistics and that. If you're going to somewhere you've been before, you don't need that. You just get in your car and I know that road, we'll turn left here, boom, you end up at the same place. So we need a map, we need a plan. Now, I've taken the liberty here, Michael and others on the State Council, to try and summarise what our approach to planning is. It's incomplete, it's not perfect, but it's where we are. And we will improve it. It's an iterative thing. We'll learn as we go, and we'll learn from others. We'll learn from Southern Cross Care. We'll learn from others as we go. We'll learn from the branches. We'll learn from the members. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm saying this is a perfect approach to planning. If I had had more time, I only got to be in the role a few months ago, a couple of months ago. If I'd had more time, I would have gone through a much longer process. But when I came in, I realised that you guys have actually been doing this stuff at least since 2019. And so when they said, oh, we want you to run some strategic planning exercises, some of the members gave me feedback on the State Council. They said, well, we've done all this before, why do we have to keep doing it? We never make a decision, we never get going on it. So I undertook to them, gave them a promise, that's got to stop. We need to capitalise on what we've done before. We don't go over old ground over and over again unless there's an urgent need or a change in the environment. And we move on. So that's where we are. This is our vision statement, mission statement, objects. Here are our objects over there. We recite the objects at every meeting. Most people, I think, can almost recite the objects, or at least tell you what's in them. Without looking at that, I can't put that up now, but the vision statement, the mission statement, I think there'd be a few people who would struggle, myself included, to actually articulate the words that are in those things. Now what John Hennessy was on about the vision being really important, is that the vision, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, I appreciate your feedback, but the vision encapsulates where we want to be. What do we want to look like as an organisation? If we were to succeed, what would it look like? Oh, well, we'd have branches all over the place, here and here. We'd have diversity in our membership. We'd have a financial position that was extremely strong. We'd have wonderful connections with the clergy and our parishes and the church. We'd be active in secular, political and other things that would, for the benefit of Australia. You could just make that list and say, and then you try and put quantities on it or some sort of measure of success on it and say, right, that's our vision. And then you might, distill it down to a few words. Are you sort of comfortable with that, John? Okay. I'm not seeking your permission, but I'm just saying there are different ways of looking at it. It's really important to know where you're going in order to get there. So I just knocked this up quickly, but you can see we started off in 2019. We did some environmental scanning. So I said, well, what's happening in the churches? What's happening in our membership? What's happening in our finances? You know, look at all the different elements that impact on our systems. I'm trying to keep this simple. There's a whole stack of strategic planning and strategic thinking skills and tools and things you can apply to this, but in simple terms, you've got to understand your environment, right? And that's what we tried to do before I got there. They did focus group discussions with members back in 2019. They distilled the outcomes of that and they gave it to branches for local planning. Now, I haven't heard a lot about what happened with all of those things in the branches at the local branch level, but at our level, this is roughly when I showed up, at branch 88, so I said, right, we'll take it. There were 15 things, I took 5 of them, I think, something like that, and I said, right, these are our key areas, and we're going to do a plan. We're going to report against it. So we report against, at the national level, the state level, the community level, the parish level, and the branch level. And what are we doing in all these spaces? So how are we contributing to plenary council? How are we doing, you know, things from the Archbishop? What are we doing in that space? How are we supporting, responding to things like VAD and other pieces of legislation? They're examples. And then you go down. What are we doing in the local community? What are we doing in the local charities? You know, what are we doing in terms of recruitment? How many members are we getting? What are we doing about fundraising? You know, so you can see it's starting to try to focus the thinking around the areas you need to concentrate on in order to build up your capabilities and also to better understand your world. Now, I've got to rewrite this plan in consultation with my members, and this time we're going to learn from our experience and we're going to go the next level, putting in targets and a few other things so that we can actually measure our success against them. I'm sorry, I've got a bit of a cold sort of thing. It's not COVID, it's not that thing in the right-hand corner there, by the way. Key strategic focus areas were distilled. We had some state council planning sessions. We're now setting high-level goals, decisions and actions. And you see the thing at the bottom, this is all to be done in consultation with members. Then we've got to prioritise them. And the way you prioritise them is, so right, okay, what is the thing, whatever it is, in terms of its risk to us achieving the objects of our order? Higher the risk, higher the priority. If it becomes something that is only, you know, marginally of interest or effect, or we say, right, okay, we've got limited resources, let's focus on the top priorities and then work our way down through all the others. Then we allocate roles and responsibilities. John Hennessy's model includes the concept of portfolios, responsibilities. So, you know, you'll see things like communication and that in this thing. Then it drops down to project management, plans, reporting and monitoring. Right? So these were the strategic focus areas that we distilled. They're not perfect. They overlap. Necessarily they will overlap because they're all interrelated. But you can see how you need to have areas that you focus on in order to concentrate your thinking and planning. So, okay, I've got more detail coming up, so just bear with me. So we've got our culture in the organisation, which includes our fraternity, our spirituality, all those sort of things. Projects and activities, what are we doing out there? Membership recruitment, communications capabilities and approach, KSCQ management, which is heavily related to what John Hennessy was talking about with the toolkit. How do you build leaders? How do you train them? All the rest of it. And our financial position. Can't do stuff without money. So here, all I've done here, I've got the topic and some example topics in that space. So they're not exhaustive, but you get the idea. So, culture. Maintaining and building our faith and spirituality. Strong fraternity. And promoting the welfare of our members and their families. We heard about that earlier today. Our Christian example in the community. Fostering the Christian way of life. How do we respond to this cancel culture thing? One excellent way is to say, right, Be examples out there in the marketplace. Show them what it's like to be a Christian. Supporting the church and parishes, which is another thing that came up earlier today about the diminishing numbers of priests and religious. Projects, external activities, some examples. So, our objects include conducting and supporting charitable, religious and social welfare work. That's obvious, but we've got to actually focus on it and see where we can do better. Targeting more activities that enhance the Knight's external profile and image. Why is that important? I'll use my example again. I was in St Vincent de Paul. I could look the people in the eye and say, I'm helping you, you're homeless, I'll help you to get accommodation, I'll feed you. Can we say the same thing in the Knights? And if I'm a Christian man, a Christian Catholic, good Catholic man, and I want to do good in the community, and I've got choices. That's one of the things that didn't come up here. That 100 years ago, there weren't quite so many choices that a person coming into a community could take. They said, well, I like a bit of St Vincent de Paul, I like a bit of Rotary, I like two bits of that one over there, and so you've got choices. So if we haven't got an attractive product that entices new members to come in, they're not going to join. So what we do externally makes a huge difference. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to pick on you. Caboolture, right? Caboolture has got this amazing external presence in the work that it does in the Caboolture area. It does some incredible things. And they're out there, but, I can't remember the name of the tavern.
Trader Jews, every Friday night.
Every Friday night. Meat raffles. And they're out there and people saying, oh, what's this for? Oh, this is for the night. What do you guys do? Oh, we got a mobile shower for homeless people. We're doing barbecues for the homeless lot. We're doing this. We donate to St Vincent de Paul. Oh, bloody hell, all right. Here's $10 worth of tickets. Here's another $10. Right? So they're examples of, I think, I'm sure you won't disagree, examples of being out there and being proud to be Knights and actually demonstrating what good thing you can do. Okay? Now, sharing good best practice between the branches, encouraging collaboration and fellowship on activities across regions and between branches. This is this thing, right? Excuse me, please. Across here, we've got quite a few branches represented. Some of the branches have only got a few members. And certainly some of them have only got a few active members. If you turn active in terms of, certain things they are capable of, right? But the neighbouring branch could have tons of members. Between them, they can say, right, okay, let's do a joint project across our region. Let's collaborate. Oh, by the way, you're struggling to get members. Have you tried this, this, and this? This is what worked here. Fundraising. Oh, look, we've got ideas for fundraising. Have you tried that? If you need some help to set it up, let's share and compare. The knowledge is here. Tremendous knowledge and experience. Let's use it. Membership recruitment. So I talked about our marketing product and supporting materials to attract new members. So we need to produce better brochures, videos. We put things on the websites. Because when I was approached to be a Knight, what was the first thing I did? Because of my background, I went to the website. Not a lot there. Not a lot of it was up to date. You try it yourself. And if you go and look for recruitment, it basically says something like, you've got to go to the national one, then you go to the state one, and then it says, right, in order to go, you want to inquire about this, well, go and see someone, basically. And so you go around in circles, you tear your hair out if you had any hair. Information sessions, presentations, parishes, how do we do that? Some branches are really good at doing that sort of thing. And again, it's one of those skill sets, I think, John Hennessy was talking about. Not everybody's comfortable in giving presentations. They're not always, up for that sort of thing. But if you want to do stuff across regions, you know, we can train each other, we can help each other. The business about locating new branches, we had a state council meeting 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, and the topic came up because we were talking about these outcomes, and I'm struggling to remember the names of the branches that were represented. They said, well, we've got 3 places on the books, you know, that we'd like to examine, and we'd like to restart another branch. I've got to go to Gympie. They used to have a branch, but, you know, things changed up there. Well, I'm going to go up and see the new parish priest up there, and I'm going to talk to him. So, again, what worked, what didn't work? In John Hennessy's kit bag, you've got some material on how to set up a new branch and how to approach it and all that. Let's use that sort of approach. Best practice, share it. So, communication capabilities and approach. One of the things we're doing is to facilitate, make happen bi-monthly branch chairs meetings by Zoom. This is they're not state council meetings, they're branch chairs meetings. And branch chairs then can share, compare, and raise issues, escalate issues if they want, but they can develop greater collaboration across the different branches. Improving our website presence with KSCQ and in the parishes, because the parishes have their own websites and other social media things. How do we exploit those? Reviewing our approach to communication with members. So I'm sure every single one of you gets the night's news and all the other things by email, and the first thing you do is you go through every line and you read everything in it, and then you file them away somewhere so you can get at them separately and all the rest of it when you need to. Maybe that approach can be reviewed. Maybe there's a different, a better, a smarter way to get that information out. But we need to talk to the members and get their views on how that's going to happen. Get them to design it, you to design it. Examining an official email domain for communication with our members. So, for official communications. Sorry, I jumped a line. So, at the moment, we don't have an official domain that demonstrates that it's got a professional image. It's actually, you know, we're so professional that we've actually got our own email address. And when we try to contact people for fundraising, official communications of any sort, we need to have a domain that is professional looking so that people want to be involved in those sort of activities. Now, there are some significant costs and administrative costs, legal and other issues attached to it, but we've decided that we want to at least examine this project to progress it. All right? Diocesan and district chairs and state councillors. Okay, so, yep, running out of time. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So, what we're doing is, here we're saying we've got roles for our branch diocesan and district chairs and state councillors. Well, they should be having much greater connections with the branches and finding ways of supporting them. And again, it's all the stuff about building relationships with priests, parish communities and that. So, KSCQ management, top to bottom, state council, state office, all the way down to branches. We can all improve our management of the way we do things. So that's all part of that. Financial position, well, we haven't got millions of dollars in the bank. Probably don't need millions, but it would be really good if we had some more money at the state level so we could do more things. Equally, at the branch level, more money, more external activities, more profile, more members. It's a circular thing. So how do we identify new ways of covering our administrative costs? How do we examine ways of fundraising at the local level? So managing the change. Okay. This is a long subject, but I've tried to break it down. The things we do well, we do not need to significantly change, but we might improve them. So we're not throwing out the whole baby with the bathwater. There's some key challenges we face, e.g. membership. It means we cannot keep doing things the same way. We've got to do something different. And the other thing is our operating environment is always changing, and it's changing rapidly, even if it's legislative changes and all the other things, and the church membership and technologies and all that. We just have to keep our finger on that pulse and keep track of it. Change priority will be dictated by the risks and opportunities presented in terms of us achieving the objects. The key to the whole thing is engaging members and other stakeholders, such as clergy, in understanding, supporting, designing and implementing the changes. And we've got to leverage substantial collective faith, knowledge, skills, experience and ideas. We must bring more members into the fraternity to add to our talent pool. We've got existing limitations in our capabilities, but I've seen exercises that have gone on for years and years and years where they think they're being strategic and all the rest, and in the meantime, they stop all their basic operations and the whole place dies. We've got to keep going with what we're doing, incrementally improve it, but at the same time improve our strategic focus. Where we can introduce changes, we will do it. Same as, for example, putting in the bi-monthly chairs meetings. Now, change comes with a cost. So just because some genius comes up and says, well, yeah, we should do this, if it's going to cost us too much or we can't fund it, well, that has to be taken into account. Branches will manage their local activities and planning. They're the core of the business. Right? So where State Council comes in is only where State Council can add value. That's my opinion. I don't hear any boo, no, that's wrong, coming from the crowd. Particularly, State Council needs to support the branches and members to undertake the core business of the order. You guys are the ones doing the work. You're the ones who are the order. State Council shouldn't get in the way. It's like too much government. The other thing to note is it's a long-term ongoing process and a different way of doing things, and we need it to ensure our future. Yep. In the past, we've responded to huge challenges and have succeeded. We'll do it again, together. Thank you.